What is up everyone, Barricade here, and today I'm going to be talking about what characters we can be seeing in Gears of War E-Day. With this being a prequel game, there's a huge opportunity to see a lot of characters that have actually died in the original trilogy. So that's the one thing I'm really excited to see. And I wanted to talk about all the characters that we could potentially see in Gears of War E-Day, and also why we might not see some of them. It just depends on how they play out the game, really. The first characters I wanted to talk about was actually Baird and Cole. The thing is, though, is regarding them, actually, it might be kind of hard to actually put them in Gears of War E-Day. The reason why I say that is because, actually, if you guys don't recall, in Gears of War 1, that's essentially when Marcus and Dom meet Baird and Cole. I believe Marcus has heard of Baird, but he's never actually met him yet until Gears 1.
You're Baird.
Yeah, that's right, asshole. Question is, who are you?
And when it comes to Cole, they obviously knew who he was because he was a famous thrashball player, but they never actually met him until Gears 1. So if they wanted this to be followed correctly, then we wouldn't really be able to have any direct interaction between Baird and Cole with Marcus and Dom because they never actually met them until Gears of War 1. So that's the part that's a little unfortunate. Now, does this mean that the characters won't be in it at all? Not exactly. Maybe we can see them as a part of a cutscene. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the characters will switch around and we can play as them for a little bit. It's hard to say. But I feel like that's a little unlikely, though, because if we're just going E-Day, just E-Day, nothing after that, then it wouldn't really be possible to have Baird and Cole in the game, really. And the reason why I say that is because if you follow the novels, you would know that essentially on Emergence Day, Cole was in his hometown of Hanover, and he saw the locust coming out of the ground and stuff. He saw it on a live news feed while he was walking down the street and seeing it on TV, and he was just by himself at that moment. And with Baird, it's kind of hard because I can't recall them ever actually mentioning what happened to him on E-Day specifically. All I remember was that about a month or so afterwards, Baird, essentially enrolled in the COG to become a soldier and everything. But they never actually really said exactly what happened to him on Emergence Day or where he was. The only really thing that was really known about Baird was that his parents died, unfortunately. But he wasn't really close to them because he had some personal issues with them, which I mentioned in previous videos. But that's the only thing. Unfortunately, both Baird and Cole didn't know each other yet. They didn't know each other until after E-Day. And then on top of it, they were not really near each other or anything, so we can't really get like another half of the campaign with Baird and Cole on E-Day. It wouldn't really follow the novels. Now, they could simply ignore that and, make the game be that way, but I doubt they would do that. So unfortunately, when it comes to Baird and Cole, it's very unlikely that we would see them in the campaign other than maybe like a cutscene where we got to see them for a second or something like that. I don't think they would ever interact with essentially with Marcus or Dom because they never met them until Gears 1, and essentially the other reasons I mentioned already. So that's kind of unfortunate there. But we can also talk about characters that we should be seeing in Gears of War E-Day. So the thing is, besides Baird and Cole, the one thing that'd be interesting would be Tai, to be able to see Tai in Gears of War E-Day. I can't recall them ever mentioning exactly where Tai was on E-Day as well. I don't think they mentioned really in the novels or anything. I could be wrong. Someone feel free to correct me, but I don't recall ever them mentioning that ever. So that would be cool. We could have him be part of Gears of War E-Day. Maybe he's a soldier that Marcus and Dom run into that helped them out. He could essentially be like a third character that kind of follows them around and helps out and kills the grubs. The one thing I'm kind of curious about actually is because in the novels, it was stated that Tai was the one that created the chainsaw bayonet. He didn't create it, but he's the one that essentially pitched the idea for it. He used a buzzsaw one time when Marcus was being attacked to cut the locust in half, and that essentially gave the idea of the chainsaw bayonet, which was later given, the idea was given, I believe, to Adam Phoenix and all that, and they essentially created it. But if we're getting just E-Day, then that's kind of weird because of the fact that would mean that they're only using retro lancers at that point, because the chainsaw bayonet and all that didn't really happen until sometime after E-Day. So that's the only part that I'm kind of like, I feel like they might have to change some kind of canon, or maybe make the game take place a little after E-Day as well. Like it starts on E-Day and it kind of progresses, so we can get like the chainsaw and stuff like that. So it's just a little interesting on how they'll play that out. But it'd be really cool to see Tai, because he's obviously alive. He was part of the COG. He helped out on with fighting the UIR and everything. So it'd be really cool to see him as a part of Gears of War E-Day. The next characters obviously would be Min, Hoffman, and Anya. If you guys recall, at the beginning of Gears 5, they showed like a little snippet of E-Day, and we got to see essentially all three of those characters, essentially Min, Anya, and Hoffman, fighting some locusts while they were going to the House of Sovereigns. And so they obviously would be there. They would be during E-Day and everything like that. The only thing, though, is it stated that they're in a part of Ephira, which I don't believe is where the new game takes place. At least from what I heard, the new game takes place in an area called Kelowna. If I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know. It's essentially the first time of them mentioning this, with shown in the trailer where we saw the name of the city on the TV. So I don't know if that would even be possible to have Baird, Anya, and Hoffman and all that, because they're in Ephira, which I believe is somewhere else. But they could always just have them show up later. You know what I mean? It's not really something like where they're going to be stuck there and something like that. So I feel like they could, have them added, have them be part of the story, and we get to see essentially more of, young Min, young Anya, and young Hoffman, and have them be part of the story. The thing is, we don't really know too much of the nation of Tyrus. Gears of War has never really talked too much about their nation and the areas and, where everything's connected. At least from what I recall, I don't remember really it being talked about in, the novels or anything. So it's kind of up in the air how far away these cities and these areas are from each other, with Ephira and Kelowna. And then if you guys read the comics, you'll know that RAAM appeared on E-Day in a city called Jannermount, and that's where he essentially started attacking, and that's also a part of Tyrus. So I would like to see RAAM be introduced as well and shown, essentially his first attack on the COG. Obviously they wouldn't beat him because they don't defeat him until, Gears of War 1. But it would still be kind of crazy to see them try to fight RAAM and him just be kind of like this unstoppable, undefeatable force. And they're essentially just have to like run away from him and stuff like that. So that's going to be kind of interesting if they do introduce RAAM in Gears of War E-Day. I really would like for them to do that, but I don't know if they will. So when it comes to the Gears of War E-Day, there's so many different opportunities they can have to bring back a lot of classic characters. Like I said before, unfortunately when it comes to Baird and Cole, that might not be possible. But when it comes to, Hoffman, Min, Anya, Tai, essentially having RAAM show up, stuff like that, and also just running into the different type of locusts that were there at that time. We can make new different type of enemies and stuff like that weren't, in the original trilogy. So it'd be really cool to see what they do with this, new game, because the possibilities are endless, and I can't wait to see what they do. The last two characters I'd like to mention when it comes to Emergence Day essentially would be Samantha and Bernadette. As far as Samantha's whereabouts were during Emergence Day, that was also one of the characters that they never really mentioned or talked about, so I can't really say where she was during Emergence Day. So that would be kind of cool to kind of fill that in, essentially to have her maybe be part of the story somehow. That'd be interesting. And then the last character I would like to mention essentially would be Bernadette. With her, she was actually discharged and essentially went back to her home on an island called Galangi. She essentially got shot in the leg and got a surgery to repair it, and the war was over, so she was no longer a soldier, no longer going to fight anymore, and she essentially was just living life with her husband. But when she heard the distress calls regarding the locusts and another war starting, she essentially left her husband to go, join the war effort. She never saw her husband again and essentially just stayed a COG soldier permanently. But with her going back to Ephira during Emergence Day, it's a little unlikely that we would see her as a character as well. But, they could probably find some way to put her in as well if they really wanted to. So overall, when it comes to all the characters here, you guys let me know what you guys think. If you guys like this video, please definitely hit that like button and subscribe, and tell me what you guys think about these characters potentially being in Gears of War E-Day. Would you like them to be in this game? And if it doesn't follow the novels and all that correctly, would you be okay with them changing it to essentially ignore the canon? I'm not sure how I would feel about that, but overall, as long as the game is amazing, that's ultimately what I would care about. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and take it easy.
Thanks for watching this video.
If you want to see my most recent Gears of War video, hit that link on the left. If you want to see any of my other content, hit that link on the right. Thanks for watching, guys.